Attention!
Welcome to the Film Mages Podcast, where the popcorn is our ammunition, the couch is our foxhole, and the cinema is our place of worship.
Now let me see your war face! Ah!
Hey, good morning to everybody for the first time today, for we have not said this already.
I love how we lean in whenever we have to start recording again, because like no one would know. No one would ever fucking know.
People have got to know the truth.
We are so honor bound that we feel compelled to tell you, the listener, the truth. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Film Majors. I am Zach.
I'm Mick.
I'm Alexis.
And who's our special guest?
Hi, I'm Sloan.
It's Sloan. She's saying it for the first time. Well, I guess the second time because she's a returning guest.
Well, technically, she's been on the show 3 times now, but we'll call it 2.
Wow. Yes, last time I was here was for The Polar Express, arguably one of the best Christmas movies.
I was just talking to people about this backstage last night, too.
Backstage? Hold on. Alexis, what's going on?
Hey, what's up? I am on day 7 of Hell Week at Roger Rocca's. I opened the show The Secret Garden on Thursday. It is now Sunday. We were doing Tech Week on Monday. Literally, there's no dark week at that theater. You strike the set of the previous show that Sunday. You move in and start Tech Week literally the next day, and then you open 3 days later. It's great. I smashed my finger on one of the set pieces last night, moving the bed onto stage. That was great. It was not cool for 5 minutes, and then it was fine. But then I woke up this morning, and I was like, oh yeah, no, it's starting to bruise underneath. It hurts again. All right, good. Well, I'm doing great.
You're doing great. Sloan, how are you doing?
I have COVID.
Sloan has COVID. Now, eagle-eared listeners may remember that last time Sloan guested on the podcast, Mick and I had COVID.
That's right. Yeah.
Sloan is
during it made the cursed Christmas all the more cursed.
Yeah, we
that
watched.
Was funny.
Yeah, I also got COVID. I'm currently sick, but have miraculously tested negative for 5 days in a row, even though I have all the symptoms. So that's making me feel a little crazy, but we rock and roll, we party. Now, Sloan.
That's so funny that's so funny when you have like little medical devices that are just constantly gaslighting you. Like, you know you have it.
I feel insane.
But it's like, no, you don't have it. No, you should go outside. You should just be around people.
Go to work. Yeah, but Sloan, in your COVID-bound seclusion, have you viewed any films?
Yes. Well, one I viewed before COVID. We watched it together. What was it called?
We've seen so many movies. We watched Rebel Ridge.
Yes, we watched Rebel Ridge, and then last night I finished Uglies with Joey King and Chase Stokes.
How was that?
I read the books when I was a kid, and I really enjoyed the books. And when I watched the movie, it did not hit the same way at all, unfortunately. I feel a little bit bad for Joey King because I feel like a lot of people are dunking on her for being in a movie called Uglies, especially because like the person that she like what's it called?
Character?
The person that's like opposite
the protagonist?
You.
Oh, her co-star.
Antagonist.
Her co-star, Chase Stokes, is like good looking. So like, and not that she isn't.
Ooh,
She's very beautiful.
A mission.
No, but it just wasn't as good. It wasn't as good, and it made me kind of sad. But, yeah, but I have not watched as many movies as Zach has in my COVID state.
Well, you've been working.
No one watches as many movies as Zach has.
Nick, I think you've watched more new releases this year than me.
Yeah, I've done hard work this year for sure, but that's all been intentional, but not this week. I think this week you have me beat.
This week I've been trapped inside.
Exactly.
I'm so excited for you because you know what's going to happen once again is in December, I'm going to be at the theater every fucking day trying to catch up on all the movies that I missed. At home at night, catching up on all the movies I missed, trying to do that top 10 list of the year.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid that a little bit, like cushion it, because it's still going to be intense. There's still going to be like a shit ton of stuff coming out at the end, but yeah. That last month sprint is crazy.
Alexis, it's one of my favorite annual traditions is watching you watch all the movies I watched throughout the year in like a 7-day time span.
Yeah, exactly.
It's awesome. Because sometimes I wish I did it like that because I'm like, oh, I'd have a fresher perspective. But
we
Sloan,
can thank the ADHD for that one.
Sloan, you've been inside working on something, a few things. One, this episode comes out on your birthday, so happy birthday!
Aww. Happy
birthday!
Thank you.
And Sloan, what else comes out this week?
My EP.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you. My EP, Long Conversations, comes out on Wednesday. And it's been like 6 years in the making. So I'm very excited.
Go ahead and plug your artist name.
Oh, yes. Thank you. My artist name, you can find me everywhere on streaming services. It's Sloan Golden. And then
it'll be in the episode title.
Thank you. And then all of my social handles are Sloan and Things. And no E on Sloan, just regular.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Follow her.
Mick, our beloved co-host Mick, was involved in this a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yes, Mick AD'd on the last Visualizer and music video. And the music video comes out on Wednesday, and the Visualizer is about to be the most viewed video that I've put out so far. The Missing Sarah one.
Fuck yeah!
Oh, wow!
Directed by former guest Zoe Hughes.
That's right.
Yes.
Aww.
We're an incestuous bunch of creative collaborators, and that's how it should be phrased.
Well put.
Wait, can I ask a question about what's going on?
We're in it. Ask a question.
Please.
Okay. Does anyone have any interest in watching Monsters on Netflix?
Yes.
You've seen it?
I do. No, I haven't seen it, but last night I went out with friends, and that was basically 50% of the conversation was Monsters. Because a friend has seen
What's
it, and
Monsters?
she was telling us all to watch it.
Alexis,
Is it a movie or a show?
It's the
a
show about the Menendez brothers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I have heard about this. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, because I've heard a lot of like varying things about it, and I have not watched it, and I'm not sure if I should or not, because I don't know if it's like a fair representation of like what happened to them, if they're being like exploited.
What happened to them? They murdered their parents. That's what happened.
Yeah.
They murdered them
Yeah,
for
but
money.
I was like, aren't they murderers?
Yes,
Yeah,
for money.
but they claimed that their parents had molested them.
Yeah, they did the Casey Anthony. They did the Casey Anthony defense where
No, Casey
they were
Anthony did it after them.
Okay, sorry. So Casey Anthony learned that if you murder a
Casey
family
Anthony did the
member in
Menendez
cold blood,
defense.
except it worked for her. I have a question for you, Sloan.
Yeah.
Are we the TV majors?
No.
No,
But I
we
do
are.
love to talk about. I watch so much more TV than I do movies.
Yes, I know it haunts me.
Oh, God bless that. You know, the boys would be so vexed with me if I watched more TV shows than movies. So thankfully, I don't have the like just not mental capacity, but the attention span somehow for TV shows.
I love that they're just like little snips
They're like a Quibi.
instead of like a big 2.5 hour chunk, you know?
Do you
like
know
a-
how long it's
like
been
a Quibi.
taking me to get through just the first season of Abbott Elementary? I started that show last year. I'm on episode 7. I'm on episode 7.
Okay, so question for, I guess, Alexis first. Have you seen any films, or have you not because you've been in Hell Week?
I have been deep in the recesses of the dark theater, so I've seen nothing and
No
no
doubt.
one but my dog.
You
so,
sound
know,
like the Phantom of the Opera.
I was about to say.
Recesses of the theater.
Christine! So, Mick, let's start with you, since you've seen some new
Yes.
stuff, and then I'll do like a
Yes.
real quick roundup of my COVID viewings.
Okay, I saw 3 new releases, and I'm going to start with, I'll go in order of how much I enjoyed them, starting with kind of like lesser enjoyment to greater enjoyment. So I watched the new horror film Never Let Go, directed by Alexandre Aja?
Alexander Aja?
Yeah. It's the new Halle Berry horror film, and it's about her and her 2 sons. She's a single mother out in this isolated cabin, and there is a sort of amorphic evil that just floats around in the world, and that apparently has taken over the world, and they're like maybe the last survivors of it, and they're all tied to their cabin because it's like a spiritual sanctuary with rope, and none of the demons can get you. It's all very intriguing, and I like that everyone in it is a person of color. The 2 kids are these 2 very young, talented kids. It was cool to see them carry a lot of the film, but the problem was there are long extensions of the film that are just child actors, but it's a very serious adult horror film. And seeing like little kids do like all the mechanics of a horror film in a very serious way felt kind of like a really big budget, very self-serious Goosebumps for long periods of time, and it doesn't quite work.
That sounds kind of
You
good.
know, I mean,
don't lie, Mick. You just
I know.
hate children.
No, it's not. That's not it. It's not it. It's just, I don't know. There were times where I was like, then like another child character would show up, but then they're like facing off against each other, and I'm like, this feels a little silly.
It's giving like Percy Jackson.
It's a little like, this is weird, like seeing these little kids like totally playing it straight like they're adults. I don't know. It never really capitalizes on its actually very intriguing premise. Halle Berry's really great. She puts on a really, really good kind of like Louisiana accent. So I think it's pretty mid, but it's worth checking out. There are some pretty solid scares in it, but don't watch the trailer, because if you do watch the trailer, you're going to see like 85% or 90% of everything scary.
Get to the movies that I'm going to watch.
Okay, so then the following day, I did a double feature. 2 movies that have been released September 20th that both heavily grapple with the idea of what society considers to be beautiful and almost a violent hatred with one's self. The first one of the 2 I watched is A Different Man, the new Sebastian Stan movie. And it was really, really good. It's the feel-bad comedy of the year. And I know we enjoy those on this show.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, it's really good. Sebastian Stan is fantastic. Adam Pearson is his co-lead, and they have. I'm probably gonna butcher this, but it's about like this very. It's about this condition, neurofibromatosis, which is like a severe disfigurement of the face. It's like tumors in the face, and it makes you swell up quite a bit. And Sebastian Stan plays a character that has this condition, and he's a struggling actor, and life is just never going the way he wants. And then he gets this miracle drug, and it makes him look like Sebastian Stan. And he finally gets to live out his dream of what he's always idealized as what the perfect life would be. And then that dream very quickly becomes a nightmare. Adam Pearson plays a person with that same condition who has that condition in real life. And in real life, he's a big campaigner for awareness of that condition. He's fantastic. And it's almost like he ends up taking the life that Sebastian Stan wants, but he still has the condition. And so in a way, the whole movie is about it's not your looks, it's just that downtrodden, monotonous attitude of yours, dog. So maybe change that, and then people will like you, which I thought was pretty funny. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it is very dark, it is very funny, and there's also body horror elements in it that I was not expecting. There's actually a few sequences in particular that the makeup is absolutely insanely good. It's a very sincere, honest film, but it's never preachy. In fact, I'd say it's a lot more self-deprecating. So check out A Different Man. It's a very good movie. But then I saw a movie that's even better. My fellow film majors and my listeners, I am happy to say that we have gotten I think an all-timer.
I'm so fucking jealous.
I know.
I'm so excited to see this movie.
It's something for you all to look forward to. So I've
been looking forward
The
to
Substance. It is so good.
I know. I just haven't seen Demi Moore in something in so long.
She's fantastic. She absolutely is fantastic. She came to fucking play. She fucking fought. She owns every goddamn moment she's in that movie. It's directed by Coralie Farge, and this is her sophomore debut. And I watched her first film last night, Revenge, which is like a crime action thriller, which is pretty good. But this is it takes everything that she did in Revenge, and she goes times 10 with it here. It's edited so well. The movie looks so good. And as I told Zach last night, I keep thinking about it, and I talked about it a bunch with friends last night that have also seen it. And I think it's this year's Barbarian. It is a horror film that is just so good that it might be a contender of it's definitely in my top 5. It's definitely my favorite horror film of the year so far. You have to see this in a theater. You have to see it with a crowd of people, because people were yelling, screaming. There was such horrible things happening on screen, and it was all being met with laughter in the audience because we could not believe what we were seeing. As the credits are going, I stood up and I was walking out of the theater, and I turned to my girlfriend and I just say out loud, I go, Jesus Christ. And this other couple that was in front of me, they turn around and they look at me and they go, yeah, dude, what the fuck? And people, just random strangers, started talking to each other because this movie's so crazy. I would describe it as Barbie in the mouth of madness. It is, it's absolutely crazy. It's got some solid Cronenberg vibes. This is going to be a modern body horror classic. The effects are just so good, and the last thing I'll say is, it not only is it a really good film, and it's immensely entertaining, and it absolutely goes there. It cranks it to 11. Sometimes we talk about how movies have a lot of potential, but they just don't have the juice. Well, that juice that we're talking about is technically The Substance. But not only is it good, but it also, like any good horror movie worth its salt, it's about an actual problem in society and is quite poignant and profound about it. And the ultimate compliment I can pay to the director, to which I will definitely see her next film after this, is if I'm watching your film and I'm immediately brought to mind Brian Usna's Society and Peter Jackson's Brain Dead, then you're doing something right. Because this movie, folks, let me tell you, actually conjured images of those movies. Like that's the level in which this movie goes. So please watch The Substance. I think it's one of the most exciting special movies of the year. And happy spooky season. What a way to kick it off.
So, speaking of David Cronenberg, I watched a David Cronenberg movie last night. And by a David Cronenberg movie, I mean a movie co-starring actor David Cronenberg. I watched Clive Barker's Nightbreed, in which David Cronenberg plays
want to see that
antagonist. That movie is fucking crazy. It's like if Clive Barker, the director of Hellraiser, made X-Men. It is...
That's amazing.
Bizarre and gross and gay, and it rules.
I love it.
I wish I lived in the reality where Nightbreed had as many sequels as Hellraiser, because Hellraiser is a movie that does not need a sequel, and Nightbreed is a movie that kind of demands one. It feels like it was based on like 20 years of comic books, based on how like dense it is, but it's based on like one short story that Clive Barker wrote like a year before he made the movie. So yeah, really enjoyed Nightbreed. I've been watching a lot of spooky movies as I've been home alone, so I'm just gonna run through the ones that I've seen since we last recorded. I watched Caveat, which is the freshman effort from Damian McCarthy, who directed this year's Oddity, which fucking rules. Caveat is also very fun. I watched Ghost Watch, which was a BBC horror mockumentary that a lot of people thought was real. It's one of my favorite, like, found footage, fake documentary horror movies. I think it never betrays the premise of, like, do we know where the cameras are and would people still be filming? So, yeah, hugely enjoyed that. I watched Todd Browning's 1932 Freaks, which was kind of incredible and... you know, for a movie called Freaks from 1932 is like incredibly humanistic and sensitive to the plight of people who were viewed as freaks at the time. Okay, I watched Bride of Reanimator. Speaking of Brian Usna, very fun movie. Yeah. Same effects guy that did Society. Makeup legend Screaming Mad George. He is credited as Screaming Mad George. Bride of Reanimator, very fun. I watched Eyes Without a Face, 1960s French horror film.
How was that?
I liked it a lot. It's... So the movie, the Almodovar movie, The Skin I Live In, I think is fairly indebted to Eyes Without a Face, but I like The Skin I Live In more. I think it's creepier and is more thematically rich, but Eyes Without a Face is very good. You know, I think it's no coincidence that like the 60s were the time period where American audiences were watching a lot more foreign films, because Eyes Without a Face gets away with a lot more than a Hollywood movie of the era could have.
Yeah. I read a book about that, actually, where they go into that, of why foreign cinema... It was actually Akira Kurosawa that really cracked the nut for a lot of American audiences in the 60s, because American audiences... were so tired of being spoon-fed all of the studio schlock that when they saw what was happening overseas, they went, oh, okay, so they actually respect the audience's intelligence. This is cool, and it actually shows you stuff. So, yeah, that's absolutely the truth on that.
Interesting. We could perhaps take some notes. And finally, another foreign horror film I watched was Bong Joon-ho's The Host, which I thought was beautiful and sad and funny, as many a Bong Joon-ho movie is. I watched it the night before Sloan told me that she had tested positive for COVID. And as I was watching The Host, I was like, wow, I really wish I had seen this during the pandemic, because this is like really capturing the vibe of what it was like during the early days of COVID. And then COVID came back. So that was fun. But yeah,
That's setup and payoff, baby.
Yeah, I really like The Host. I think it's always impressive when a movie can like very clearly have something that's not quite polished on a production level. In this case, it's the CGI on the titular monster. But I fully don't care. It's a really cool design, and everything else works so well that, I couldn't be bothered. So yeah,
I'll have to rewatch that. I liked The Host when I saw it. I didn't love it the way you did. I probably missed a little. I thought it was pretty funny.
It's I don't know. I found the end of that movie very moving. Yeah. Oh, and speaking of Bong Joon-ho, the trailer for Mickey 17 came out, and what is that accent Robert Pattinson's doing? I can't wait.
I love it.
I love it. He sounds terrible. I love it.
So that was my exact reaction. I was like, that's a terrible accent, and I love everything about it. I can't wait to see this.
It's not that it's like a bad accent, it's that it's annoying.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's definitely Nicolas Cage coded, in the sense that like, oh no, I buy that as a person, but why? It's kind of like yeah. It doesn't sound like someone trying to put on a voice. I buy that, but it's quite odd. I can't wait.
Let him cook.
Also, Mark Ruffalo. He looks like he has this like immense overbite. I think he looks wild in that film.
Ruffalo and Sebastian Stan, I feel like, are two of the Marvel guys who are really doing some interesting projects right now.
Yeah, fuck Robert Downey Jr. Sorry, been there, done that.
Robert.
You guys were so excited after Oppenheimer.
I know. And what was the name of that TV show he did?
The Sympathizer.
The Sympathizer, yeah. The Park Chan-wook one.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Robert, you could have done anything. Why did we give you acknowledgement?
Yeah, that was a mistake. Speaking of acknowledgement, did you guys see the trailer for Cillian Murphy's newest movie?
Oh, yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah, the Small Things Like These. This is that movie that Matt Damon was talking about during the behind the scenes of Oppenheimer, where he was working with, I think, Cillian like on day 1 or 2 of them shooting together, and he called up Ben Affleck and was like, holy shit, I'm seeing some fantastic work here. This is terribly exciting. Like, we should try to finance his script. And this is that script. I'm very excited. It's like a period piece in Ireland. It's like takes place in the 80s. I can't wait to see. And it also, I was really excited because in the trailer it said Academy Award winner Cillian Murphy.
You're goddamn right.
That's so fantastic. Hey, yeah.
Are you guys gonna go see Megalopolis when it comes out this week?
No.
I mean, I'm gonna go see it.
Because I'm out of the country.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna have time this week. Maybe on Saturday, because I'll be working. Maybe I'll see it after work, but maybe not. I'm probably not gonna have time. It's Sloan's birthday. It's a busy week. Maybe I'll have to. Maybe I'll have to go Sunday. No. Anyways, yeah, I'm very excited.
That's at the top of my to-do list when I get back in the country, is to watch Megalopolis, because I want to see it on IMAX. I'm hoping it's still going to be playing. Probably won't be.
Yeah, no, I do have to get there when it's on IMAX screens. Well, do we have anything else?
I don't think so.
Well, then let's fucking hop out of what's going on. And we're back. We are back with our final big topic of Sci-Fi September. You're 2 months early. So
That's right. Wait, wrong month.
Yeah, wrong month, dog. So today we're going to be talking about something that I have kind of long wanted to talk about on this show. There have been a few episodes, I think, where I've thought about doing this topic, and that is what are some of our all-time favorite film taglines? For those of you who don't know, which I don't know why you wouldn't, a tagline is a little line that appears on the poster of a film underneath the title that sort of pitches the vibe of the movie. I'm going to throw to our guest first, Sloan. What are some of your favorite taglines?
Okay. One of my first favorites is Halloween Town. For anyone...
Go to federal prison.
Halloween Town, for anyone that doesn't know, is the 1998 Disney Channel movie that stars Kimberly J. Brown and Debbie Reynolds.
This is a crime.
No. And one of the tagline is, being normal is vastly overrated. I like that one.
Aww.
I think
Halloween
That sounds
Town.
nice. That sounds like a good movie.
it is a good movie. Have you ever
Shut the
seen
fuck
it?
up, man.
No, I haven't seen Halloween Town, but I
is
feel like it's
lying
gonna
to you.
happen.
No, you don't. In what context would you watch Halloween Town?
I don't know, just to be cool.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like we're all talking about it. I feel like I should be.
We're
in
all
on it.
talking about it because Sloan made me watch all of them.
Yes.
That sounds like Sloane's doing the good work.
She is
boy.
doing good work.
Yeah, Alexis, you shouted me out on your Instagram, and I really appreciated that.
Because nothing makes me happier than listening to one of the boys, like, acutely suffer from the whims of women.
The whim of a mad woman.
In general, just
From the whims of
acutely
women.
suffer.
Sloane's just
funny.
posed up like Dennis Hopper in Speed. The whim of a madman. I like that.
Oh man, yeah. The fact that you got him to watch so many of the Halloween Town movies
All
is just
of
it's
them.
honestly-
Yeah, but it's been over the span of, like,
Right.
many years. Like, we watched the first
Yeah.
one, like,
it's like you
probably the first year we were
prying it.
together, and then I think we probably watched the second one shortly after. But then it took us a long time to get to Halloween Town High, because that one, in my opinion, is the least good of the four.
I tend to agree.
Yeah.
And then
It makes the thing about the movies is that it makes so little sense. And that's kind of hard because not all the movies make a lot of sense in some ways,
Yeah.
you know? Like, especially like Calabar 2, like the Halloween Town 2, I'm just like, what's going on, you know?
Wait a minute. I know we're a little off topic, but Sloan, I must ask.
A little.
We've talked in the past about how we all have litmus tests of like movies that when we find a person that is possibly a candidate to be a partner, it's a movie that we show that person to test whether or not you're going to be compatible. Would Halloween Town be your litmus test?
well, obviously not, because Zach is a hater. He's a hater.
Nice.
So, I don't know. What is one... Zach, do you remember what one of the movies that I showed you early on in our relationship was? That I was like, Zach is a hater of actually a lot of my favorite movies, and I wouldn't put Halloween Town on the list of, like, one of my favorite movies, but I am a fan of, like, Zach Braff's movies, and Zach is a hater on them.
Hell yeah.
I do not like Zach Braff. I do not appreciate him.
Wow.
But he also...
Florence Pugh got something right.
He also has liked some of the movies that I've showed him that from like when I watched growing up that he liked that I feel like he wasn't expecting to like, which comes back into my
Parent Trap.
second. Well, that one, yeah. But which comes back into my second favorite tagline from the Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen.
Better movie than it had any right to be.
And the tagline for that one is "So much drama, so little time," and
that's good.
I enjoy that one.
I like that one. That's good. That movie has a split diopter shot in it. That's what I remember about Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen.
And I always remember that I don't ever remember the phrase that you say, but I always remember that you say something about that. The split shot. That's your favorite part of it.
It's a split diopter. I was impressed.
Step outside, nerd.
Okay. All right. Alexis, do you have any taglines that you'd like to share?
You know what? You're so lucky because I've been looking through a list of them as we've been speaking, and I found one that I liked. And you know what's so funny is I think I read your text at some point this week and then immediately forgot about it. So
appreciate the honesty. Appreciate the honesty.
Yeah. We're on this show. We are honest.
We are honest.
We're the honesty majors.
Kill Bill Volume 1, Here Comes the Bride.
That's a good one.
I don't know. I really enjoyed that little spin of it. So, oh, wait. I just found another one. Bride of Chucky. Chucky Gets Lucky. I love Bride of Chucky so much. Okay, it
Jennifer
was
Tilly.
on at my boss's house the other day, and his, like, I want to say, like, 7-year-old daughter was sitting in the front room just with that movie playing in the background, like, while she's playing, and I just had, like, a moment of, like, I also was watching Bride of Chucky at 7, but I know for a fact that wasn't appropriate for me to watch at 7, so... But, you know, not my circus, not my monkey, not my kid. So I was like, don't fucking care. I'm going to walk away from that. But I love Jennifer Tilly. I love her outfits. She is like the goth girlfriend that everybody wants. And the fact that Chucky gets lucky is just kind of iconic in a way. And I love her as the doll. I don't know if I would go so far as like own one of those dolls, but... her fit as the doll is just, it's incredible.
That's a pretty fucking killer tagline. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, okay. In honor of our guest, I'll pose "One Man's Struggle to Take It Easy." I think it's a pretty good tagline. That's for Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which features cinema's most famous Sloan. And then. There are so many good horror taglines.
Yeah.
I'm going to shout out "Who Will Survive and What Will Be Left of Them?" The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I don't like that one.
It's such a killer tagline. That totally sells the vibe of the movie.
No.
Who will survive and what will be left of them? If I saw that on a poster in the 1970s for a movie called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I would be buying a ticket immediately. Then, if Nancy doesn't wake up screaming, she won't wake up at all. A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Classic.
Fucking really, really good.
You know what's a classic?
What?
Spider-Man.
What's...
With great power comes great responsibility.
There it is.
I thought the tagline for that movie was "Take the Ultimate Spin."
No.
Girl,
I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was. There's at least a trailer that has that in it.
That's funny.
Probably.
And
One of my... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go.
One of my all-time favorites is it's a guilty pleasure movie of mine is Volcano, starring Tommy Lee Jones, where he essentially plays U.S. Marshal Gerard from The Fugitive, but instead of hunting down Richard Kimball, he's hunting down a volcano in downtown L.A. And the
volcano's name is Dr. Richard Kimball.
Yeah, the tagline of Volcano is "The coast is toast." And I've always really loved that because I think that pretty much summarizes the vibe of that film.
Fuck yeah. Oh, that's
Also,
really good.
Also, Jurassic Park is really good. An adventure 65 million years in the making.
Oh, I like that
one's
one.
great.
That is good. That is good. I also enjoy a tagline that tells a little story. Christine Brown has a good job, a great boyfriend, and a bright future. But in 3 days, she's going to hell. Drag me to hell. I really like that one.
That sounds like a run-on sentence.
There's a period in there.
Yeah, but like that's not a tagline.
It's
To me,
it's
that's
on the
not a
poster. It's the
tagline.
tagline. Okay,
the
but it
poster.
is the tagline though. It's the tagline on the poster.
Have you guys seen Chicken Run?
Yeah. Love that movie.
Great tagline, 4 words: escape or die frying.
I like
That's
that.
pretty good.
We love a pun.
I don't want to be a pie.
I love that movie. I haven't seen it in so long. I should rewatch that.
I need
It's
to
so
watch
good.
that movie. I've never seen it, and I really like that studio.
Oh, you haven't grown up. Oh, my God.
You need to watch that one. It's
Yeah, I
iconic.
don't know how I didn't see that because I was a Wallace and Gromit kid.
I just
You're going to
the
love it.
villain, the wife, is so good in that movie. It's kind of giving like the vibe of like like Fantastic Mr. Fox, and the wife of the main farmer, and when she comes into like the basement area of the cider, and she's like gonna pick up the fuck. Do you remember that part, Zach? She's kinda
It's been
scary,
a
but
while
she's,
since
like-
I've seen it, but kind
She's
of.
very severe looking. And to be honest, I feel like it's kind of riffing on the wife in Chicken Run. So
Yeah, it is
Nice.
very similar. It's basically, I don't know if any of you have seen The Great Escape, but they were like, let's do The Great Escape, but just make them chickens. And look, that's perfect. Green light that project. Like that's the best pitch.
absolutely.
What if we did this famous movie, but they were chickens? Yes. Tell me
Yeah,
more.
we could. That's like similar to like the let's make it with Muppets. I like that. That's a good way to go about green lighting a project.
Okay, but you have 2 really good ones that you haven't even said.
Well, there's one that I'm saving as a transition one. The last couple that I have are you don't make 50 million friends without making a few enemies. The Social Network.
Yeah,
I like that one.
that's a good one.
It's 500 million.
500
Is it
million.
500 million?
It's 500 million. You're right. Hard of reading.
Correction corner.
In real time. And then classic, You'll Believe a Man Can Fly. Superman sells the movie really well.
I've got 2.
What are your 2, Mick?
We have to shout out The Thing.
Oh, don't
Man is
say
the
it. That
warmest
was
place
going to
to
be my
hide.
transition one. God
that was
damn
your
you.
There's a better transition. And then another one I have to do is one of my all-time favorite spooky season movies, Heads Will Roll. Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. Great.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I really love that one.
Mick, a movie that we saw together. Some People Never Learn. Jackass Forever.
Yes. No, see, that's
That's
Incredibly true.
Yeah.
Some people
Some
never
people never learn. That's hilarious.
I really like that. Okay,
Me
then
too.
my last one, and then I'll let if anybody else has one, throw it out. But I'll let Mick do our transition one. Herbert West has a good head on his shoulders, and another one on his desk. Reanimator.
There it is. I
But
like
you had
it.
another one that was really good.
Did I?
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember what it was.
You had like the one from The Thing, and then you had the other one.
Well, there's one that I'm saving that's
Oh, I thought it
attached
was the
to
one
this
from The
film.
Thing.
No, the one from The Thing, Mick said, man is the warmest place to hide.
It is this film. It is this
Look,
film.
let's have that be the segue. We're just talking about it. Like,
right.
Zach, why are we talking about cinema's best taglines?
Well, Mick, I'm glad you ask so smoothly. One of what I think is maybe the best cinematic tagline of all time it's so good that in the installment of this series this year, the trailer called back to it. In space, no one can hear you scream. And that is from the film we are talking about today, Ridley Scott's 1979 film, Alien. Here is the description. In deep space, the crew of the commercial starship Nostromo is awakened from their cryosleep capsules halfway through their journey home to investigate a distress call from an alien vessel. The terror begins when the crew encounters a nest of eggs inside the alien ship. An organism from inside an egg leaps out and attaches itself to one of the crew, causing him to fall into a coma. Yeah, Google watched it. Google watched at least the beginning of it. It watched at least the first hour.
And then it was too much for Google and they turned it off.
All right. Well, I'll throw it to our guest first. Sloan, what's your relationship to Alien and how do you feel about it?
My relationship to Alien is that you showed it to me probably a while ago, like a couple years ago.
Last year, I think, yeah.
Last year. And I remember when I watched it for the first time, I really liked it. Zach can always tell when I like a movie or not when I like a movie, but when I'm feeling like, I guess, like excited about a movie because I don't fall asleep during it. And usually the movie has to be like pretty like high energy, like tense. Like, for example, like Uncut Gems, because so that I'm like constantly, or even the movie that we watched last weekend. What was it called?
Rebel Ridge. Yeah. You like a thriller. You like a thriller and a horror movie.
That's really funny though, because I feel like Uncut Gems, that's really at the top tier of like keeping you at the edge of your seat. Like, do you have to be that jived up to not fall asleep?
Sometimes, yes.
Sloan is America's sleepy.
It needs to be a full-blown panic attack, otherwise I'm going to crank out.
No, it is as though you are putting Sloan into a cryopod in Alien if you lay her down on a couch.
If you turn on a movie.
If she goes horizontal,
if she goes horizontal, it's fucking over. And honestly, sometimes if she tries to not be horizontal, it's still over.
Yeah, sometimes I make the concerted effort to sit up so I don't fall asleep, but I still fall asleep. So I really liked it. I really enjoyed, I don't know, I just thought that it was like I feel like it was a really good story, and I really enjoyed the practical effects, and I really enjoy Ripley. I feel like she kind of carries the whole situation. I feel like I kind of think of myself as someone who like doesn't really like sci-fi, but like in this, but I think I do, and I just have like a misconstrued understanding of like what sci-fi is, because I also would not consider Alien to be like a horror movie, which Zach
That's
like
so crazy.
really disagrees with me about, but
vehemently.
But yeah, and then this most recent time that we watched it, I really enjoyed it again, and we had most recently seen Alien Romulus, and Alien Romulus did not have the same juice that Alien has. And I think that has a lot to...
Whatever, guys.
It's okay to be wrong, Alexis. It's okay.
I think it's just...
It's okay for you guys to be wrong, too.
That is okay, Alexis.
I exclude Sloan from this, but
okay.
This is a very pointed comment to the boys.
No, it's okay for them to be wrong.
It would be okay for me to be wrong if it ever fucking happened.
Please.
This is why people... Oh, my God. You know what? Alexa, I am now reversing my loyalties. Fuck you, Zach.
Come on, man.
No, here's the thing, Zach. I'm not trying to come for you in this moment, okay? But
you're about to.
No.
Go for him. Go for the ginger. Hit him with the chair.
But sometimes after we go to see a movie, like, for example, like when we go see a movie like Alien Romulus, Zach comes out of the movie and says, like, that movie was good or bad, instead of, I liked that movie or I didn't like that movie. And I feel like sometimes when you state an opinion as a fact, it's hard for other people to disagree with you and have a productive dialogue.
I think that I
That's
shouldn't
true.
have to
I
use
don't
passive
like going to movies
voice.
with people that say those things, because it makes my enjoyment of a movie that, like, even if I didn't love it, if I liked it enough, it makes me feel almost like I enjoyed going to the movies less, because now I have to hear somebody talk about how much they didn't like it, and then it takes so much energy to disagree when all we could have talked about, is just, oh, I mean, I guess they could have done this better, instead of somebody being like, that was terrible.
Because I feel like obviously, like, you guys, I feel like come at movies like from a more critical lens than I often do, but I feel like I enjoy.
Don't count me into this.
Hey, you are a goddamn host on this podcast, Alexis.
Yeah, you're a
goddamn minister
podcast,
of
but
theory.
You're
We
the
have
chief of
so many
theory.
times talked about how I just do not take such a hard stance on films like you guys do, like hardly ever.
So
for
I feel
Ambulance.
like sometimes like when I exit a movie, it's like, oh, that was good. Like, it was just good. It's it doesn't have to be
And
like.
that's your opinion.
It is, but maybe I really should be phrasing it as I liked that movie instead of it was good, because maybe it
I
wasn't
think
good
it's
to
fine to
somebody
phrase
else.
it as it was good. I think that we shouldn't have to use passive voice to voice our opinions. Alexis, what's your relationship to Alien?
Okay, I just want to say that you totally contradict yourself, because when we say that Halloween Town is good, you tell us no, it fucking isn't.
You're goddamn right.
And
It's
what
not.
we mean is that we really like that movie because we loved it as kids, and it made us feel good about ourselves.
I mean that I disagree. It's bad. And when I say it's bad,
No, you didn't like it. It's different than it being bad.
I think it's bad.
Okay, that's your opinion. It's like that scene. It's like that scene in the Housewives where she goes, "That's your opinion," and then she flips over the table. That's how I feel.
Alien. Alexis, what's your relationship to it?
And to be honest, I have no idea when's the first time I watched Alien. I just know that I've seen it like a few times over my lifetime. I probably watched it like probably at least one time before the age of 10, just based on the fact
That's
that like
insane.
my sister was always catching these movies like whenever they were like on TV, and in general my sister was like a big horror head, so pretty much most of the horror movies that I saw before the age of like 8 were all because of my sister.
God bless.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she was out here doing the hard work prepping me for this podcast ahead of time.
She was.
Thank you,
that's a good way to look at
Natalie.
it. God, we love Natalie. When is she going to be a guest on this?
Yeah,
She
get
should
her
guest
on
on
for
this.
spooky season.
You know what? I actually should, because we need more feminine, like, what energy on this podcast.
Listen, I feel like Natalie will come on and be contentious, and that's what I like.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I love this movie personally, and just in general. I mean, like, I think we can all agree that it's like a classic. So, big thumbs up, and Mickey boy.
Well, that's your opinion, and it is a good opinion because we value opinions here. This is the Honesty Majors.
What are we the
Alien.
opinion majors?
Yeah, pretty much. We're the opinionated
we are.
majors.
Philosophy majors.
Alien.
Minor.
I like this movie a lot. I saw this when I was quite young. I don't think I was less than 10 because Alexis is just built different.
Not anymore.
Yeah, I liked it as a kid. It scared the shit out of me. But the funny thing is as a kid, this was probably one of the first like annoying film opinions I ever had as a human being. But when I saw it, I was like, I just think it's edited poorly. Like, I remember me and my parents talking about how in the film you see like the molted skin, and then suddenly you see Parker talking about this thing is as big as a man. And I remember as a kid going like, wait a minute, when do we see it? Like, what you can't just tell me what it is and then not show it to me. And then also at the very end, when the Nostromo blows up, it happens 3 times. It blows up, then it blows up again, then it blows up again. And as a kid, that kind of bugged me. But I just was so thrown for a loop, just how crazy, evil, and terrifying the xenomorph and all of its various stages of gestation and the way it grows up is just so terrifying. So when I saw the sequel, Aliens, as a kid, that shit rocked my world. Whereas, like, that was going to be my tagline thing, where this time it's war. Loved Aliens, and quite often I talk about, is Aliens or Alien my favorite film out of this franchise? And I always ping pong back and forth. I go, I watch Alien, I think it's the best. Then I watch Aliens, and I think that's the best. After watching it for this episode, I think I'm going to finally stop being wishy-washy. I'm no longer going to ping pong, and I'm going to state that I think Alien by Ridley Scott, 1979, is the best film out of this franchise. I think I would put this movie up there with like Master and Commander and Raiders of the Lost Ark for me. Of
high praise.
If you ask me to watch it, I'm going to watch it. And I'm going to have no problems with it because it is a masterpiece. This movie's great.
There's a ship in it.
There's a ship.
A spaceship.
There's a ship.
So this is probably one of the first horror movies I watched all the way through. I think I watched this when I was 12 or 13. Well, okay, I do think that the fact that this was also a sci-fi movie helped me kind of digest it as a very nervous kid. I think the fact that it's set in the future, it's, we're not dealing with something that I feel like I would encounter in my real life, I think helped me get a little bit of emotional distance from it and be able to like watch and enjoy it. I feel like, if you ask me now what film genre is most important to me, I would probably say horror. But I think that science fiction was kind of the first like film genre I was really into as a kid. The Matrix was a big movie for me, and I probably watched this around the same time that I saw The Matrix. I saw it at my grandparents' house, I think the same winter that Prometheus came out, I want to say. I think it was winter, maybe it was summer. Regardless, I was at my grandparents' house. Just loved this movie, went and saw Prometheus, liked it a lot. Continue to love this movie. Although I think I watched the director's cut of this movie first. Because there's a famous deleted scene in this movie where Ripley comes across Dallas, the captain, and he's like stuck to the wall when she's trying to escape the Nostromo, and she burns him. And then she sees Parker and oh my God, I'm blanking on Veronica Cartwright's character's name. But she
Lambert.
she sees Parker and Lambert getting like turned into eggs at the end of the movie, which is like not canonically part of the alien life cycle now. Yeah, it was a cut scene. But I think I saw, because I remember seeing those scenes, so I think that my grandparents probably had like the 2003 director's cut, which Ridley Scott has said is like not his preferred cut of the movie, which is funny that it's called the director's cut.
That doesn't make sense.
It's, it was peak DVD. It was when they'd give you like they'd give you $1 million as a director to just fucking re-edit your movie. This is not a Blade Runner situation.
A director's cut.
Yeah, it does not need to be called the director's cut.
Not the director's cut, a director's cut.
But yeah, Mick, I am in agreement with you that this is the best movie in the Alien franchise. I think that just the simplicity of it. There's a line that Ash says where he's like, its structural perfection is matched only by its hostility. And I think that's a really good way to describe the movie Alien, because this movie just is so effective at taking its time to set up the world, set up its characters, without feeling like it's being heavy-handed with its exposition or world building. And then once, Kane gets face hugged, the face hugger comes off him and he gets chest bursted, this movie just fucking goes. It's one of the most effectively paced movies I think I've ever seen, and I think that's part of why the director's cut of this movie is worse. I was watching a little bit of it last night, and it doesn't have the same patience that this movie does.
It's funny. I'll say really quickly. It's funny that this is a good follow up to our previous episode, The Fifth Element, where we have Ian Holm in both films obsessed with the perfect being. And it's just interesting the different interpretations of what the perfect organism is. So I don't know. That made me, as you were talking, Zach, I realized the parallels of that and how fucking different that is. But
that
Alexis, you were going to say something?
I was thinking while I was watching, and I was thinking about Alien Romulus, and of course, I agree that this movie is the best, but I mean, it is also the first movie, so of course, most of the time, those are the best movies. But I was thinking to myself, one of your guys' complaints about Alien Romulus was that it didn't get to the action fast enough, and I was watching this movie, and no,
that wasn't my complaint. Zach?
No. Yeah, I think that it didn't establish its characters very effectively.
I think that's a different film major, Alexis.
Is it? Is it?
Yeah, no, my main complaint was I just didn't like the characters and the cast. That was my thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, but what were you saying?
No, that was it.
That this movie, it does take its time getting to the alien, which I think is very effective. I want to talk a little bit about H.R. Geiger.
Jumping right into it, huh?
Yeah. So the alien
was
weird
dude.
Designed by a very strange Swiss man named H.R. Geiger, who did a lot of art that was described as biomechanical. It is stuff that looks like machines fused with body parts, usually genitals. And he was brought onto this project by Dan O'Bannon, who was one of the two writers. And Dan O'Bannon met him while working on Jodorowsky's Dune. One of the concept art designers introduced him to H.R. Geiger. And Dan O'Bannon describes his first meeting with H.R. Geiger as H.R. Geiger was smoking opium and offered him opium. And then Dan O'Bannon was like, I'm good. Why do you smoke that stuff, man? And H.R. Geiger just goes, I am afraid of my visions. And the way Dan O'Bannon the way Dan O'Bannon kind of phrases this is not that H.R. Geiger was like smoking opium to escape his visions, but more that he was smoking opium to have horrific visions to inspire his art. And I gotta say, job well done, because one of the most like iconic monster designs in any fucking movie. It looks so good.
Yeah, I like how what Dan O'Bannon did for Alien, who he was the original writer. He was like the guy that like cracked the story for this.
He wrote the original script with Shusett.
Yeah, he continued to work in like creative producer capacity as the process was going on. But something they decided to do, which was very similar with what Peter Jackson did for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, was bring in just their favorite concept artists and artists of a certain genre to just make the look of the film. And they brought on H.R. Geiger, and then they brought on a different guy. Two other guys, one to do the exteriors of the Nostromo, and then one to do the interiors of the Nostromo to really get that very real, like you can totally buy this as this is a functioning ship. The world building is very complex, and to get the fact that those come from different minds, you have the person working on the creature, you have the people working on the ship. I think it really does help solidify just how fucking alien this, no pun intended, how alien this thing is, that it really looked like, and it still doesn't look like anything we've ever seen. And it's fascinating. Like when I watch this again and they get to the engineer, or at the time they called it the space jockey ship, that kind of horseshoe looking thing. I mean, that still just blows my mind. Like when you look at it, that looks like something that shouldn't exist. Like it sends like shivers down my spine. And then when you get up to the two main entrances that look like these giant vulvas, and you walk in and everything just has this like these like organic look to it and everything, and it's just, oh, am I wrong? Why are you making faces? Am I wrong?
I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to the vulva.
You didn't see the vulvas?
They're right there.
I didn't see it.
I will say.
I didn't see
the
it.
vulvas?
No?
No vulvas for me.
Oh my gosh.
Go off.
Where
Queen.
was it?
It's when it's when they walk into the derelict, the crashed spaceship.
No.
I mean, like, looking at like H.R. Geiger's like concept designs,
it's so interesting to me.
Huh.
I personally, and
I guess I just never see two of them so close together.
I don't buy that for a second, Alexis. I think you absolutely have.
Push.
Alexis, I thought this was the honesty majors.
I mean, like you look
crazy.
You look at H.R. Geiger's concept designs, and shit looks like even more. Like he did a concept of the egg silo, because initially they were.
Yes,
I think in the
the
original script they were going to find all the eggs in like this big pyramid. And his design for that kind of looks like a butthole, kind of looks like a big butthole.
He's drawing from real life.
H.R. Geiger just fucking
why is the egg silo winking at me?
hitting the fucking opium and just staring into the depths of a butthole.
You know, it's one of the story that I really like is when he was talking about the design of the egg, the original design. So as we all know, it unfurls at the top. It has like 4 flaps.
It looks like a Venus flytrap to me.
Yes. Well, originally, it was just one opening that just opened on top, and they got a note from the studio, and they said that they're like, Geiger, it looks like a vagina. Like you have to let's add another
a
flap.
dilated vagina prepping for birth.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. It was like this dilating vagina, and the face hugger pops out. And H.R. Geiger, I remember it wasn't in the behind the scenes, but I remember this from a while ago. He's still upset about it. He was like, yeah, they said that it looks like a vagina, but if you add a few more flaps, well, now it just looks like 2 vaginas. So great, now the eggs have 2 vaginas.
Okay, I want to issue a correction quarter for myself immediately.
Is it about having seen 2 vulvas side by side?
Dilates. Shut the fuck up. It's the cervix that dilates, not the vagina, because I'm dumb.
Correction
but go
corner.
on about the 2 vaginas.
Correction corner. This is good. This is
This is the health and human development majors.
Yes.
No, I just really
love the anatomy majors now.
I really love how like the other designers who were Chris Foss and Ron Cobb. One of them is like, I watched a behind the scenes on this, and one of them goes, when we looked at his designs, we weren't sure if we wanted to meet him. And then it just cuts to Shusett, the other writer, just going, he was kind of like Dracula, but I got along with him great. And then it just cuts to a clip of H.R. Geiger going, I always like to be in the dark. To be in shadow.
Alexis, you're kind of like H.R. Geiger.
Alexis is Geiger-esque.
Alexis is
my
the
man.
When people ask me what's Alexis like, I'm like, oh, she's kind of like the H.R. Geiger of the podcast.
Yeah, she has bones of all kinds all over the place. She likes to be in the shadow, to be in the dark. She's like Dracula, but I get along with her great.
She's like, look at this drawing I did. I'm like, that looks like a butthole.
Alexis, that's a butthole.
You know, my drawing skills are pretty elementary, so that's probably possible.
So shall we talk about the cast? Because, Sloan, you brought up Ripley, and as, a 5'10" curly-haired lady, I think you're, very qualified to talk about Sigourney Weaver.
Thank you. Yes, I really like her. Well, here's the interesting thing. And Zach, you're the one that told me this, but is that like when the script was originally written, like they weren't gendered. The characters weren't gendered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I might divert from what you want to talk about. Is it okay?
Talk about what you want to talk about. That's why we brought you on here.
Okay, so I thought it was really interesting that the script did not have any gendered characters, but that they made Ripley a woman. Not me coming onto this podcast to always talk about how either a movie is based in misogyny or feminism, but...
Go off, queen.
Do it.
But it's interesting to me because as I was watching it, I was like... They made Ripley a woman, yet, like, no one listens to her. Like, no one listens to a goddamn thing that she says literally the entire time. And if they literally would have just listened to her, like, from the beginning, then none of those things would have happened. And obviously then, like, the movie wouldn't be the movie. But, like, it just, to me, is, like, all these men telling her to shut the fuck up. And it's, like... enough of that. And it's like to have written the script being like a man or a woman could play any of these parts, like obviously not. because like the man, like a man could not have played Ripley because like the other men on the crew would not have treated Ripley in the same way that they treated.
Yeah, just like totally disregard considering how capable she is.
Exactly.
That is so true.
They wouldn't have treated her that way. So she even though she wasn't written as a woman, she had to be a woman because she was written. She was written to be like blown off.
That's fucked up, but totally true.
It's also something where I feel like having learned a little more about Dan O'Bannon and his general vibe, I feel like that's definitely something that he probably didn't pick up on as he wrote it. Doesn't strike me as a dude who like understands women super well.
Yeah, this motherfucker wears a bow tie.
So, you know, I'm gonna put that down to
What do you got against bow ties?
I'm gonna put
everything.
I'm gonna put that down to Ridley Scott, Sigourney Weaver, and oh my god, I need to find her name. The casting director, Mary Selway, who cast this movie, as well as Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Aliens, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So we have her to thank for Mr. Bobby Pattinson. I think that, like, you know, it's not a coincidence that Ripley being cast as a woman. I mean, I don't know how late that came in the development process, but I'm gonna throw some credit her way because she did a fucking phenomenal job with this movie.
Well, I think also just like the idea that, like, I think if that Ripley wasn't cast as a woman, like, I don't think it would have been as interesting, and I don't think you would have been rooting for her in the same way, because I feel like making Ripley a woman, especially when the movie came out, like, kind of puts her in like this underdog category where you're like rooting for her to like get out. And I think that if she was a man, I don't know, I just don't think it would have had the same effect. I don't think you would have been rooting for her as hard. Like, obviously you would be rooting for that person regardless, but I don't think it would have had the same impact.
I completely agree, and I can kind of speak to that. We were talking about our first experiences with this movie, and that's something I really like about this, is that the first character we're introduced to is Kane, played by John Hurt. When all the pods open up, he's the first one that wakes up, and I remember distinctly as a kid, and I would imagine 1979 audiences felt the same because they hadn't really seen stuff like this before, that, oh, that's our hero. Here's our guy. Here's the guy we're going to follow. And then he ends up being the first one to die. So it's like, oh, what the fuck? Okay. So then Dallas is the hero. And I remember thinking that as a kid. I was like, oh, Dallas, he's the captain of the Nostromo. You know, he's got a beard. He's our man. And Tom played great by Tom Skerritt, and then he dies. And I remember as a kid going,
and then which man did you think it was going to be next?
Exactly. It's like we kept losing the main characters. But then as the movie goes on, and she is the last person standing, and it shows that she is like the strongest out of all of them, and it must have been great for a 1979 audience to be shown because that sort of story, because this is like one of the all-time badass female characters. Like, honestly, like we love a bad bitch origin story, and this is like one of the all-time greats.
I knew she was the hero because she made the most sense.
Well, that is the thing. She is like trying to call all the shots. She's like, why are you gonna not do quarantine? Like, all of these things. And it's like, if they would have literally just listened to her from the beginning, none of that shit would have happened. They would have just been able to blast the alien out from the beginning because they would have been in the little quarantine pod, and none of them would have died.
Yeah, and also before that, she's trying to figure out what the message says, even though, like, Ash is like, oh, no, it just hasn't been figured out yet, and she's just like, no, wait, I'll take a look at it, you know? Like, she's just constantly kind of, like, well, obviously, if Dallas isn't and Kane aren't on the ship, then she's like in command, so she's taking charge. So I don't know. And also, she's really pretty, so like I assume that because she was really smart and really pretty, that she had to be the hero.
Okay, a few things. One, I there's a story from the behind the scenes of this movie that I really like, that apparently Yaphet Kotto, who I fucking love, who plays Parker, was kind of like fucking with Sigourney Weaver on set, and was in the scene where she says, I'm the captain of this ship. He was like coming back with like, you know, really intense responses to her, and she was getting really worked up because I think this was her first movie. Which is crazy.
Before this, she was an off-Broadway actor.
Yeah.
And
crazy.
All of the people like in this film were all like film stars or film actors. So she had a very different way of working.
A lot of that like vibe of people not believing Ripley also reflects the attitude on set of people being like, who the fuck is this woman who's never been in a movie, who's now the lead of this. But yeah, Yaphet Kotto was fucking with her, and then apparently there's, you know, the take that's in the movie is she just lays into him. She goes, I'm the captain of this ship. And he just, after, you know, a bunch of takes where he had like come back at her with something, he just goes, okay. It's fucking so sick. But
I thought that was, sorry, go ahead.
I'm really glad Alexis brought up Ash, because I think that's like something that's so rewarding, you know, after you watch this movie for the first time, is watching all the little ways that Ian Holm is sabotaging the crew that don't necessarily play as that on your first viewing. Because like talking about the transmission, like him being like, oh, you know, we're not sure what it says. Like he's lying, you know, him letting them on board the ship. Like, you know, initially
it wasn't his decision to make.
No, it's not his decision to make. And he does it so that they can get the fucking alien on board and get the specimen back to the company. And he couches it as like, oh, I was taking care of Kane.
Yeah, and I love how Ripley like confronts him about that, because she's just like, well, you know that when Dallas and Kane are off the ship that I'm in command. And then he says something about, I think like, you know, like, oh, for Kane, right? Oh, he wouldn't have made it. And she's like, oh, so then you deliberately broke quarantine.
Yeah.
You know, like she's immediately just like, so you purposefully went against you, like your main role as the science officer of the ship.
And in that same scene, he like has this scan of like Kane where you can kind of see the alien inside of him. And when Ripley comes up to him, she's like, what is this? And he's like, I'm not sure. And he turns off the screen. Like, this movie, it pays attention to the little fucking details. It rewards you on repeat viewings, which I think, you know, any great movie does.
Yeah, that's speaking of Ash, that was something I did not know, which was when they wrote the original screenplay, this was originally going to be like a lower budget Roger Corman picture, which, for those of you who don't know who Roger Corman is, he was responsible for so many great like B-movie horror stuff, really fun movies, but nothing like Alien that we get, which is a very serious, dark,
high budget
film. And they had a really solid concept, but apparently they didn't think the script was very good, 20th Century Fox, and so they had some people in-house rewrite it completely.
It wasn't 20th Century Fox that specifically didn't think the movie was good. Walter Hill, who's like a famous director in his own right, him and his producing partner David Giler rewrote the script, and apparently like there was a conversation that Dan O'Bannon, who again seems like kind of a fucking salty dude, had with Walter Hill, where Walter Hill was like, you know what I bring to this picture is that I hate science fiction. And it's like, I don't know if that's really helping. But anyways,
the one
you were saying
the one thing that, what was his name? David
Walter Hill and David Giler.
So something that Giler and I think his like writing partner did, that the original writers, Dan O'Bannon, they often credit of saying like, look, we were upset that they tried to redo our script, but to their credit, they did add Ash, which in the original there was no robot. There was no character that suddenly wasn't human and was working on behalf of the corporation, which is crazy to think about because if you think about where
Makes it so much
it's
better.
crazy to think about where the franchise goes and how much they capitalize on these synthetic humans. I mean, Ridley Scott ends up running with that in the later films of being what created the xenomorphs to begin with. Spoiler alert. But it's crazy because I remember people talking about that people fainted during the screening of Alien and people vomited during the screening of Alien. And apparently a lot of people say that when those things happened, it was when Parker knocks Ash's head off with a fire extinguisher and his milk just starts spilling out. And that's when a lot of people were just completely flabbergasted to the point of they just passed the fuck out. And when he just starts going, as Ridley Scott says, when he just starts going odd, when he's just like he's frothing from the mouth and all of this stuff, it's absolutely insane. I think as a kid, that was one of the things that just fucking, that shit really fucked with me. So well done.
I know I was watching it and I was thinking to myself, like trying to think about exactly like how they did that, you know, like which portions were, I don't know, like a double or like at what point do they put like whatever thing that they have built to be Ian Holmes, you know, and you know at what point do they substitute the actor for, you know, the
I think at least the rig where he's running around, it's like I don't know if it's actually like a little person or just I feel like it would have to be because Ian Holm was not tall.
I think they said it's a little person. With like robot arms.
Yeah, with like a fake torso built above them. There's the effects in this movie
I
are
feel so bad
fucking
for
good.
I feel so bad for Ian Holm when Ridley Scott was talking about how he really doesn't like milk. Like the actor. And so when they cut from the fake decapitated head, which Ridley Scott to this day is still upset about it not looking good, then it cuts to the actor Ian Holm, who's like, you know, he's stuck up through a hole at a table up to his shoulders, and between takes, Ridley Scott would just take a turkey baster of milk and just like shoot it into his mouth so that he would be gargling.
That's not what you want.
And weirdly, Ian Holm not into it. Did not like that.
You don't fucking say. Oh man,
terrible.
You know what I really enjoy though is the set pieces. I remember like when we first did Barbarian, which is oh my god, that was
By the way, happy year 3 of the Film Majors.
Is that this?
Are we starting year 3? Is this official?
Episode 105.
Wow, holy shit!
Crazy. Yeah, you know, I remember when we talked about Barbarian and then we covered The Thing later that year. That we were you're talking about how like John Carpenter always has these like sets or set pieces that really feel lived in, and like you can structurally understand like the layout of it, and I feel like Alien does that really well. And even with the what is it? The U-shaped thing.
They call it
exactly
the derelict.
Okay, yeah. So like when they go in that, even that is something where it's like, oh, okay, you it's kind of mysterious the whole layout, but you do feel like you kind of understand what the space is. But I feel like the Nostromo is a space that you really understand, come to understand the layout of in a way, and it feels lived in, and it feels like it makes sense. And I always really enjoy movies that do that, like Barbarian, you know.
That's a really like totally solid point, because apparently the Nostromo sets like were all beside each other. So like if you went on to the Alien set,
they
they were completely
connected.
connected. So you could not see outside of them, which, Ridley Scott and Sigourney Weaver as like a theater actor said really helped her, because she would just walk on set and then, for the entire day you're on the Nostromo, like you feel completely immersed in the space.
Yeah.
And I think this is a movie with really great geography.
I think it also. Oh, sorry.
I do love. Oh no, go ahead.
I think
Sloan.
it also lends itself to like the beginning part where like it doesn't jump right into the action, because like you see them like getting out of their cryopods and like going to the front of the ship to like navigate it, and then like eating all at the table before Kane's chest explodes, and it like takes the time to like show you around the ship before it just jumps right into the action in the ship. So I feel like it establishes the setting well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think that actually, if I'm remembering correctly, was I think my sort of central issue with the opening of Alien Romulus, is that I feel like that movie takes a lot of effort to be like, okay, here's our exposition of like, okay, we're on this planet and Rain's mom is dead, and this is her tragic backstory and her relationship to Andy. Her dad redesigned him, and like, this is why we should care about her. And I think that what this movie does so well is like, we get basically no backstory on any of the characters. We just get to like see them exist and argue about, what's the bonus situation? We feel like it's never been fucking equitable. Like, I think that we should get more shares. Like, these are people who are at work and are so fucking annoyed that a horror movie happens. Like, they don't want to be awake. This is not as Parker says, this is not a rescue vessel. If you want to pay me more, then I'm happy to do it if you pay me more. Like this movie's so 70s.
Yeah, that's, I mean, just to circle back a little bit, what you're describing, Zach, is why I think the casting of this film is just so brilliant. Because if you have characters like that they kind of describe as like space truckers or people that work on like an oil rig, the casting, I totally buy these people as just, blue collar, regular people. And it's why I think perhaps my favorite character in casting in this is Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah.
Who, again,
love
he
that guy.
Apparently when he was approached to do this movie and he read the script, he told Ridley Scott, he was like, hey man, I don't like monster movies and I don't like sci-fi. I don't think they're good. And Ridley Scott goes, well, buddy, I'm trying to make the first good one. And Harry Dean Stanton was like, all right. And I love that because he brings that energy to this film where he just goes, right. Everything he says is just to fuck with people. Right. And I don't know. I just love, they're kind of shitbags. And I love that.
I love him and Kodo.
Yeah, it's a great pair.
That part where they're like, they unscrew something so that Ripley like can't talk to them basically, and then as soon as she leaves they like screw it back on and all the sounds kind of the air that's kind of coming in and out like goes away, and they just start laughing about it. I'm like, you fucking
love
pieces
that
of
because
shit.
so often in these types of films you get that like extreme atmosphere, like just steam coming out of vents, but we just take that at face value because it's cinematic. And I love that scene because it comments on the fact that no, this is happening because these characters are just fucking with Ripley. Like as soon as she walks away they just turn it off, and it's like, these motherfuckers, like I feel like Ripley. I was like, asshole, I thought that was just a part of the ship.
If you need anything, I'll be on the bridge.
You know, I love this movie because I feel like it really, I don't know if this was like the inception of this, but it started the whole, if you just listened to a woman, you probably wouldn't have died, which is generally the conceit of Barbarian as well, you know? So
Good parallels.
Yeah, and I love movies that do that because it just like reinforces my idea that like I am always right.
It's validating.
It is incredibly validating, and I love it.
This is why horror movies are important, because it reinforces your feeling that you're always right and reminds me that, hey, maybe you don't need to go poke that thing. Because
that is kind of... That's the meme of this movie now with current audiences. It's like, God, I love a movie where, after everyone ignores the woman, they all die, and then she lives to fight another day with her pet cat. And apparently during I found this out in the behind the scenes. Apparently during one screening at the Egyptian when this movie first dropped, there was the scene where she's the last one standing. She's basically playing a game of cat and mouse with the alien in all the hallways as everything is starting is flashing and shit. And the cat is in the little crate. And the last scene where she sees that the cat is still in that crate and she's slowly reaching over to grab it. Apparently there was a guy in the theater that just said, "Leave that motherfucking cat!" And was that guy Sloan? Wait, Sloan, do you feel that way?
Because listen,
Sloan doesn't like animals. Sloan doesn't like animals.
No.
The truth majors.
This is the honesty majors.
Like animals. It's not that I don't like animals. It's just that like you're gonna die over the cat. It's like
it's Jonesy.
No.
Yeah, it's your little buddy Jonesy.
It's just
no.
Like there's been so many I feel like examples of that through in different movies and TV shows, where they go back in to save the animal and they die because of it, and it's just I don't know if it would be me personally, but. It wouldn't be me. I feel like I stand alone in that. I stand alone in that. That's okay. But, it would not be me.
I appreciate the honesty majors.
Yeah, that's good.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Can I back up to
the very beginning because I have a long thing to talk about.
Back it up.
Back it up, Alexis.
You got it. I love that they foreshadow Kane's death. He's kind of the first person to talk at the table at the beginning of the movie, and he literally says, "I feel dead," and then he ends up being the first person to die. The thing that I'm talking about way at the beginning, before anything happens in this movie, is how clean the title card is for this film. The opening credit, as they reveal the whatever font and kind of effect that they use to reveal the word alien is so effective, and just the fact that it comes so slowly over kind of a mostly black screen, but obviously you're in space, so you're seeing little bits of different things, It's very effective, and kind of it's a little chilling with the music underneath. And I just was on this watch, I was just really enjoying that a lot.
I love a movie that just announces from the opening that this is something special.
I think
it hits so hard.
Another movie that does something.
I just love simplicity,
Yeah. Yeah, another movie whose title card kind of reminds me of this is John Carpenter's The Thing, which is a movie that has very similar vibes to this. It's, contained. It's a bunch of kind of gruff working people who are thrust into this horrific sci-fi situation. And it's no coincidence that Dan O'Bannon co-wrote John Carpenter's first movie, Dark Star, which I think is kind of the key to understanding kind of all science fiction from 1974 onwards, but very specifically Alien. Because
what movie did Dan O'Bannon also do that this show has covered?
Total Recall. This Dark Star just has so many of the things that would later be perfected in Alien. It was John Carpenter's, what would have been his thesis film at USC, but it kind of ballooned to be grander in scale, and he was like, fuck it, I'm going to make it a feature. He also dropped out to keep making the movie. He never graduated USC, which is fucking so punk rock. John Carpenter, I love you. Dark Star is about these like kind of stoner guys who work on a spaceship blowing up planets for seemingly no fucking reason. And like it just the ship interiors, which Ron Cobb, who did the interior of the Nostromo, worked on Dark Star, have some very similar vibes to the Nostromo. There's a whole sequence where a guy is chasing an alien around the ship, but it's a comedy. And apparently Dark Star, Dan O'Bannon went to a screening of it. It had like an insanely troubled production because, as Dan O'Bannon said, we had, instead of the most impressive student film, it was the least impressive professional film ever made. And he went to a screening of it, and he was like, he talked to the usher, and he was like, "Oh, are people laughing?" And the usher said, "What people?" And he went into the screening, and there were like a few people there, and it wasn't marketed as a comedy, and it just played to fucking silence. And Dan O'Bannon, I think for him, that was just like the breaking point for him, because he was like, okay, if people don't fucking get this, I'm gonna remake it as a horror movie, and that's Alien. The
alien in Dark Star is a beach ball,
and you say
with
that
like little flippers.
Yeah, and you say that it's like, oh, it looks like a beach ball. No, it is a beach ball. It is a beach ball which is painted.
No. It's a beach ball that looks like a beach ball that bounces around and is completely insane. Yeah,
I like
I've seen Dark Star. I don't love it. It's definitely, when he said that like it went from being the most impressive student film to one of the least impressive feature films, I can kind of get that a little bit. But it does blow my mind that you can trace like the origins, as we said, of Alien, of The Thing.
You can trace the
Total Recall.
You can trace the hyperspace. You can trace the hyperspace effect in Star Wars back to that movie. Dan O'Bannon did the effects on Dark Star and came up with that, and then worked on post on Star Wars. Dark Star is maybe one of the most important movies ever made. And
which is weird. Yeah.
You know what I'd recommend is, if you smoke weed, get a little high and watch Dark Star, because I feel like then you'll be on its wavelength. Alexis?
I've only got like
Thank
2
you.
minutes left.
All right. One thing I'll add, though, if we're talking about like movies that started a lot. We started this month, Sci-Fi, talking about Forbidden Planet. Quick little shout out. The detonation device for the Nostromo, I think, is completely lifted from the detonation device of Altair 4 on Forbidden Planet, which is that giant cylinder that pops up and you push the thing down and then it sinks back down. I was like, that's exactly from Forbidden Planet, and I've never noticed that before, but that's really fucking cool.
Also the legs on the outside of the Nostromo, like the clamps that attach it to its hull, are R2-D2 legs, repurposed legs from the R2-D2 prop. Thoughts?
I do love this movie because it's so fun to kind of see, I guess, the amalgamation of the legacy of both well, obviously like 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I've still have not seen, but it's like so funny. It's like if you see stills from the movie 2001, then it's like like how much like kind of the set pieces are kind of riffing on this. But then also like Star Wars. I mean, obviously I've seen the original Star Wars, many times, and so the inside of a spaceship, very much kind of looks like that. So it is very interesting to see the look of the Nostromo and how the inside is lit, it reminds me of stills from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Star Wars because apparently, I mean, we have to doff our cap to Star Wars because had that movie not been the immense success that it was and everyone was interested in sci-fi, 20th Century Fox was like, oh my God, we have to drop a sci-fi movie right now while everything's hot. And the script that they had currently in development was Alien. And that's what got it greenlit. It was like, all right, let's get this thing going and let's make it. And it was couldn't be almost any more different than Star Wars. It's not a space opera. It's not fun. It's one of the most terrifying films ever made. But yeah, I just thought what a crazy climate that the film industry was in when this movie dropped. But one other thing I want to mention, so I know we got to wrap things up, but I want to talk about the music. It was Jerry Goldsmith, right, that did the original score, who is immensely salty in a way because they did not use like a lot of the main
salty
themes
on this movie. There's a lot of very grumpy people involved in this.
He wrote like this kind of, I don't know if whimsical is the right term, but space is very beautiful, and I think that was probably something that he got perhaps not on purpose, but just inspired from 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's a movie that just has like beautiful symphonies that are played over top footage of planets and ships. And he wrote like this theme. He even wrote a theme for the Xenomorph that sounds kind of like a cheesy Jaws theme a little bit. He wrote the opening title cards, had, viola and cello and stuff playing over top that font that happened. And they're like, dude, this isn't the vibe. So they have so much, and you know how I love it, ethereal wind. This has some of the best ethereal wind out of any fucking movie. Just the sound effects that play over top of it. It's amazing.
My favorite section is when Kane is in the cave and he's kind of checking everything out and the eggs, and every time that he kind of like starts to put his hand into the mist, there's almost like this sound of like feedback that comes over on the score. And it should be kind of like not unsettling, but like, like that's obviously when you hear feedback at like a music thing or any other time, you're like, oh my God, feedback, but it's so effective when they use it in the score. And I love that section very specifically for that.
No, the sound design is fantastic. And you know what, Jerry Goldsmith, I think some of the music he wrote is very beautiful. Like when the Nostromo is traveling in front of the planets in the first part of the movie, you do get this kind of beautiful but dark feeling about space. Because I remember as I was watching it for this episode, I went, that's beautiful. Like the big wides they have of the planets and silhouette and the rings and the Nostromo flying through. I was like, this looks as good as any sci-fi movie. I think it's probably the best looking sci-fi movie, honestly. So yeah, I like Jerry Goldsmith's work, but I'm glad that they got rid of the Xenomorph theme because it wasn't good.
Yeah, that, correction corner again for myself.
Correction corner.
Again, I should have said sound design instead of score.
Yeah, this movie does have great sound design, and Terry Rawlings, the editor of this movie, said, when you work on the first cut of a movie like Alien, you really have to use your imagination, and that was down to the fact that, like, you see all these big wides of people walking through empty space, and like that's just it's dull until you add like the dripping of the water off the chains, the hollow sound of the Nostromo. Like the sound design is really what makes a horror movie come alive, and that's why I think it's a horror movie. Sloan?
No.
Yes.
It is a horror
I feel
movie.
like it's
Well, I mean, technically, I think like foremost a thriller
It's a horror
in a
movie.
way, but it is a horror movie because there's a creature, people die horrifically, and there's a final girl. I don't know. Those just all feel like very like horror themes to happen.
that does make sense. I have some like notes that I took because I know we have to finish soon, but that I just wanted to make sure to say before we finished. I closed my notes. Okay. Okay, so I thought that it was crazy that they smoked on board. I feel like it was really a sign of the times.
Hell yeah.
I think that
I'm just going to throw out that I love space cigs, and they're also present in Dark Star. I think that really enhances the space trucker vibe.
We need more.
I also really love when the alien comes out of Kane's chest, and I like how they continue to have a little alien guy with teeth throughout the series, like the one that comes out of the big man's mouth in Alien Romulus.
Favorite part of Alien Romulus?
Zach, you told me this, but I thought that it was really fun that apparently nobody knew that the alien was going to come out of Kane's chest like before it happened. Like all of the rest of the actors like weren't aware that was going to happen, and then it did, and like so all of their reactions are like their actual reactions.
Yeah, nobody knew
correct?
they were gonna. Yeah, nobody knew.
That's wild.
Yeah, nobody knew that they were gonna get sprayed with blood. Like they knew he was gonna start seizing, but they didn't know that was gonna happen.
The actress who plays Lambert looks so surprised and just like like on the side,
Okay,
just like posted up with like blood
Here's
on
a little
her
thing
face.
about Veronica Cartwright, who plays Lambert. Apparently, she thought she was cast as Ripley and didn't find out until she was getting fitted for costumes.
No.
So I feel
That's
like
so sad.
again, her and Ripley are very fucking antagonistic towards one another. And again, I think that is some of the vibes from outside the movie coming in.
Another little story about Veronica Cartwright versus Sigourney Weaver, when after they've just let Kane into the ship after getting the face hugger on and Sigourney Weaver, Ripley, she's like, what the fuck? Like, I said you can't come in, this breaks protocol. And Lambert is like trying to get her to calm down. When she hits Sigourney Weaver, that is a full-on 5-finger to the face slap. They tried doing it multiple takes, but then Ridley Scott went up to Veronica and was like, hey, this isn't working, so on this next one, you need to actually fucking lay her out. And she went, okay. And absolutely decked Sigourney. So when you see
Gonna
Sigourney
fucking start a fight on set,
when you see
Ridley.
Sigourney get hit and then immediately go back at Veronica Cartwright and they're having to split it up, that was pretty legit. There wasn't much acting.
I would never recommend that someone hit Sigourney Weaver. She's so tall. She has so much reach. She'll fucking lay you out.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sloan. Please continue. I don't want to.
No, it's
cut off any
no,
of your
it's okay.
notes.
That was interesting. When Ash gets into the control room, when Ripley is seeing what the actual message is, that's a crazy scene to me because you literally don't hear him get in there at all. Like, he just shows up. You do not hear the door opening or anything. It's just like he's suddenly beside her. And I wish you maybe would have heard something that would have implied that he was there, because it's a little bit like, how did he get here? I do have a note that says, not the cat being the downfall of the crew.
Jonesy.
And then one thing that I thought was really interesting was, with the exception of Kane and Ash, who like doesn't have like a traditional death because he's an android, you really don't see anyone else's dead body. like everyone else just kind of gets like taken, or like you see like their legs hanging or something. Like you'd never really see like anyone actually die. It's just like implied, and I do like that because I feel like it adds to like the ominous feeling of like you don't really know what happened to them or like what the alien did to them. But at the same time, I feel like the alien coming out of Kane's chest was like such a good effect that like I feel like maybe they could have done a little bit more to so that we could see what was happening with the other people's deaths. And I think there's two themes. One is to listen to women, and the other one is that you should just mind your own fucking business. Because if they had just kept it pushing, then it would have been fine. Oh, and the last thing is her underwear is incredibly tiny, and that is just...
What the fuck? I was like, that barely covers like the top of her like
who had
area.
a lot to fucking say about that is James Cameron. He was like, that's just I would never shoot her like that. I just completely disrespectful. When I went to make Aliens, I said, you know how we're never gonna see Ripley is like that, and I'm like, oh, you like, listen, I respect it, James, but also you will just never miss a chance to be fucking ornery about something, which I do love about you.
It's not even so much that, but it's like so impractical. It's like she would not be wearing those underwear to fight the aliens. Yeah. They would be so uncomfortable.
No. Okay, first of all, not just to fight the aliens, but like they're working as like truckers. Like you're gonna tell me that this woman isn't wearing some full ass fucking panties, like probably some fucking granny panties under her, like, you probably get chafing under
that is the underwear
there,
that she went into the cryo sleep with. That she was going to be in for so long.
Lies.
That's crazy.
Lies and deceit.
I will not
Lies
argue for that underwear design specifically, but I will argue for the final confrontation starting with her like mostly undressed, because the other thing that this movie is about is like this is a movie that is very much about like sexual fucking violence and violation. Like I think it was Ridley Scott, or maybe might have been Dan O'Bannon, who was like the way we're going to scare people with this movie is we're going to go after men in the audience and make them afraid of being raped and impregnated.
Yeah, well, they mentioned that the xenomorph is like a creature that before it kills you will fuck you. Like I've heard them describe it like that.
It's, it is something that like jams something in your mouth and puts eggs inside of you. Like it's viscerally upsetting because of that aspect. So I think like having someone have to face off against the xenomorph in sort of a state of like undress and vulnerability makes sense, but the underwear is too small. That is correct.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really think about it in those terms, but Alien is the first time that anybody outside the realm of women has really understood the kind of immense body horror that surrounds having something else inside of you that will eventually pop out of you and possibly kill you, or at the very least damage your body in some way. So that's actually a very good and interesting point.
Oh, I was just going to say it's the only like big sci-fi franchise that features a movie where you're cheering for a scene where someone like gives themselves an abortion, in Prometheus, like removing the thing that's inside of her. And it's like, yeah, she should fucking do that because she doesn't want it there.
For sure. Yeah. Bruh, okay, so when the alien pops out of Kane, love this part only because when the alien is on the table, it skitters off, and that shit is always so funny to me, the way he just goes like across the
I agree.
like he's just having almost like a happy little jolly time. It's like, it was kind of like, it reminds me of like when I used to catch lizards with my cousins like at the campsite, like it just like
hell yeah. Unfortunately, Spaceballs has ruined that sequence for me. where John Hurt reprises his role as Kane, and he eats soup at a space diner, and an alien pops out of him, and he looks down and goes, "Not again!" And then the alien starts singing "Hello, my baby, hello, my darling." It does ragtime.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal.
Yeah. Mel Brooks, baby. He never misses.
Shouts out to the two, somewhat recently passed British genre legends in this movie, John Hurt and Ian Holm, who have showed up twice this month. Ian Holm in The Fifth Element, John Hurt in Melancholia.
That's right.
What's crazy about John Hurt is something that I did not realize until I was much older, which is that your voice doesn't change that much as you age. So a lot of people who have a certain voice, sometimes their body doesn't quite match their voice yet. And I feel that way about John Hurt. Like when you see him in Melancholia and you hear him talking, you're like, that is an old man. That makes sense. When you see him in this movie and you hear him talking, you're like, I don't know. I feel like he should be an old man already. He already just has that voice, And
then for Ian Holmes, I know that people have a lot of opinions about him being in like Alien Romulus because of the AI shit that happened with that. But for me, that was confusing because I was like, oh, they're on the ship that they were in the original Alien. Like, I understood what they were doing and that it wasn't that. Well, actually, after Zach told me that it wasn't that. But I feel like it is a little confusing that, like, for people who have seen the movies in the series, you think that it's what's the name of the ship?
The Nostromo.
The Nostromo. You think that it's the Nostromo. And then, not that that's necessarily, like, a problem, but it's not. It's not the Nostromo, so...
Well, in the beginning of the movie, they kind of talk about how there's only so many iterations of the synthetic humans, like structurally, like looking and like models, I think. And so to me, I was like, oh, I almost didn't understand. Is this Ash or is this just another iteration of a similar model of that synthetic human,
Well, I think we should probably get into final thoughts. Sloan, you're our guest.
Yes.
I'll throw it to you first. What are your final thoughts on Alien?
My final thoughts on Alien is that it is the one in the series that has the most juice, and that it is a movie, and that it is a movie based in misogyny, similarly to the Polar Express. So I can't wait to come back. I can't wait to come on next time to talk about another movie that subtly has tones of misogyny.
Thank you. Alexis?
Love it. Living for it. Yeah, my closing thought is that I love Alien, and I will read you pretty much, I think, my favorite quote from the movie, which is, it comes from Ash, I believe. I admire its purity. It's a survivor unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality. And I love that phrase at the end, the delusions of morality, which, is kind of the whole... it's the whole problem with humans, So, I don't know. Love that.
Are you an android?
Living for it. Boys?
As they say.
I do seem to really vibe with a lot of things that they say in each of the movies.
Listen, I'm Team David from Prometheus and Alien Covenant. He did nothing wrong.
As they say, alcohol is God's apology for making us self-aware. I guess I'll go next. Alien, fantastic film. This is a great way to round out Sci-Fi Month with one of the best sci-fi movies ever made. It's always a pleasure to watch this. It's always a pleasure to discuss it with friends. And I know the big topic of the day was best taglines in movie history, but I think In Space No One Can Hear You Scream is pretty good, but if we had to live an alternative timeline, I think Sloan's tagline is a little bit better, which is listen to women and mind your own fucking business, is a good tagline for Alien. That's a movie I would watch. Absolutely. So yeah, this is a great movie. Watch it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It is from a franchise of movies with great taglines. Low-key, Alien 3 also had a pretty good tagline, which was just "The bitch is back," which kind of fucking rocks. Yeah, go back and listen to our Rocket Man episode. But yeah, I think this is kind of a perfect science fiction movie. It is dealing with so many heady concepts about alien life, the impact that capitalism will have on us in the future, and I think really all of the movies we've talked about this month, it captures the attitudes of its era. This is a movie that feels like it was produced in an America which has, lost trust in its institutions, is starting to, understand the impact that humanity's having on the environment, while, living through the biggest crime wave of the, modern era. It is a movie that is, structurally perfect, incredibly hostile, and it's also one of my favorite horror movies, which brings us to... It's fucking time, gang. It's spooky season again. We are here. Zach's Halloween Spooktacular. It's fucking back. I will drop the list of horror movies here. All right, here is the Halloween horror movie watch list. A movie every day. Creature from the Black Lagoon, Oculus, Old, Perfect Blue, Carrie, You're Next, The Birds, Pet Sematary, Suspiria, Resurrection, The Faculty, Carnival of Souls, Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, The Terminator, The Black Phone, Excision, The Deadly Spawn, The Thing from Another World, Summer of '84, Creep Show, Speak No Evil 2022, The Serpent and the Rainbow, Overlord, Species, The Lair of the White Worm, Sleepaway Camp, Jennifer's Body, The Purge, The Fog 1980, Return of the Living Dead, and Ghostbusters on October 31st. Okay, I edited it in there. Nice. I cannot wait for this month. Those are my recommendations of what you can watch every day of October. But for our first movie of Zach's Halloween Spooktacular, we're going to be staying in the horror sci-fi zone, and we are going to be discussing a director who has come up many times, but we have somehow never covered him. We're going to be talking about David Cronenberg's 1986 film, The Fly.
Oh, hell yeah.
It stars Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis, and you can rent it wherever you rent your movies, or you can find it on our fucking Blu-ray shelf.
This is apparently the saddest movie ever made, according to Zach.
It makes me cry. So, thank you so much for listening. Sloan, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
Yeah, plug your stuff one more time. Where can the people find your things?
Yes, my name is Sloan Golden. You can find my music anywhere that you listen to music, and you can find me on any social media at Sloan and Things.
Thank you much.
And no E on Sloan.
There it is.
No E.
And if you want to find us, the Film Majors, you can find us at Film Majors Pod on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and TikTok. You can find us on YouTube at the Film Majors. Comment, subscribe, and email us at filmmajorspod@gmail.com. And with that, let's get Alexis to brunch.